Welcome, viewers from around the world, to this prophetic moment that connects ancient promises with our present reality. From where are you watching this historic event? Please share your city in the comments below. As Jerusalem stands at the center of prophecy once more, we want to know from where you are witnessing these extraordinary days unfold. They come by the thousands, faces filled with anticipation, eyes searching the horizon. The ancient stones of Jerusalem bear witness to their arrival. Pilgrims from every nation, believers from distant shores, the city swells with expectation. Streets that once carried prophets now overflow with those seeking to witness, to experience, to be present when it happens. The appointed time approaches. The air itself seems charged with spiritual electricity. Jerusalem waits. The world watches. History and prophecy converge on these sacred hills. A moment generations have anticipated is finally at hand. The city of David prepares itself for what many believe will be the most significant Yom Kippur in modern history. Something is different this time. Everyone feels it. The atmosphere speaks of divine appointment, of heavenly timing, of prophecy unfolding before our very eyes. The ancient gateways seem to vibrate with supernatural energy. Merchants close their shops earlier than usual. Residents clean their homes with extraordinary care. Visitors seek accommodations at any price. The usual tourist attractions stand nearly empty as all attention focuses on the spiritual significance of the coming hours. Security forces move with heightened alertness. Religious leaders speak in hushed, reverent tones. Even children sense the gravity of this moment. They play more quietly, ask deeper questions, watch the adults with knowing eyes beyond their years. The very air of Jerusalem carries weight, carries promise, carries the sense that heaven has drawn nearer to earth than it has in generations. The call goes forth from the Temple Mount, from the Mount of Olives, from the ancient walls that have stood through millennia of human history. This is the moment, this is the time. The sacred day that bridges heaven and earth has arrived. Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, takes on unprecedented significance this year. Religious leaders speak of signs fulfilled, of ancient texts coming to life, of promises kept after thousands of years of waiting. The call reaches across Jerusalem. It echoes through valleys and rises over mountains. It spreads across continents through technology that connects us all. The message is clear. Be present, be watchful, be ready. What was written long ago is manifesting now. The spiritual awakening many have prayed for begins to stir. The nations are being drawn to Jerusalem, just as the prophets foretold, just as ancient scrolls predicted, just as believers have declared through centuries of exile and return. The call carries urgency, unlike previous years. It speaks of culmination, of completion, of divine purposes reaching their appointed fulfillment. Those with spiritual sensitivity recognize something different in the call this year, something final, something decisive, something that marks a transition point in spiritual history. The rabbis speak of unusual patterns in sacred texts, of numerical sequences aligning in ways scholars have discussed theoretically but never witnessed practically. Christian leaders point to prophetic timelines converging in this specific season. Muslim authorities note significant occurrences in their own spiritual calendar that parallel what's happening now. The call transcends religious boundaries. It speaks to something deeper than dogma or doctrine. It awakens primordial memory of covenant, of divine human partnership, of promises made before time began. The call summons not just physical presence, but spiritual readiness. Not just observation, but participation in a moment of cosmic significance. It invites everyone, regardless of background or belief, to witness what heaven is about to do in Jerusalem. What we witness today was spoken of by Isaiah, by Jeremiah, by Ezekiel and Daniel, by Joel and Zechariah. Their words, dormant for generations, now spring to life with urgent relevancy. The prophets spoke of this gathering, of this return, of this appointed time when the eyes of all nations would turn toward Jerusalem. The ancient prophecies described a time when the shofar's call would herald a new spiritual era, when the sound would penetrate hearts hardened by centuries of disbelief, when spiritual blindness would fall away like scales. That time is now unfolding before us. The prophecies are no longer distant promises. They are present realities. We stand not as observers of history, but as participants in its fulfillment. The words, once confined to sacred texts, now manifest in flesh and stone and spirit. Isaiah wrote of a day when the mountain of the Lord's house shall be established on the top of the mountains. We see it happening. Jeremiah declared a time of restoration when ancient ruins would be rebuilt and desolate lands replanted. We witness it with our own eyes. Ezekiel prophesied of dry bones coming to life, of a nation reborn in a single day. That miracle has already occurred. Daniel spoke of knowledge increasing, of people going to and fro across the earth. Our technological age fulfills his words precisely. Joel described a time when God's Spirit would be poured out on all flesh, when dreams and visions would proliferate across generations, when signs would appear in the heavens. Zechariah foresaw Jerusalem becoming a burdensome stone for all peoples. Any honest observer of geopolitics recognizes the accuracy of that ancient insight. The prophets saw our day. They described our moment. They wrote of events we now witness with startling precision. The mathematical probability of so many specific predictions finding fulfillment simultaneously defies coincidence. It speaks of divine authorship, of supernatural foresight, of a plan conceived long before its execution that now unfolds before our watching eyes. It happens now, in real time, before our eyes. The convergence of celestial signs, the alignment of biblical festivals, the gathering of nations, the unprecedented events in Israel that have shaken the foundations of geopolitical certainties. Nothing about this moment is coincidental. Nothing about this gathering is by human design alone. We are witnessing divine choreography, sacred timing, heavenly orchestration. The Day of Atonement this year carries weight unlike any other in living memory. Those with spiritual discernment sense the shift. Those with prophetic insight recognize the patterns. Those who have studied the ancient texts see the unmistakable parallels. It happens now. The veil between heaven and earth grows thin on this holiest of days. It happens now, as Jerusalem once again becomes the spiritual epicenter of global attention. Even secular news sources report the unusual phenomena, unexplainable lights hovering over the Temple Mount, atmospheric anomalies detected by scientific instruments, patterns of bird migration deviating to circle the ancient city 7 times before continuing their journey. It happens now, as technology allows real-time transmission of events to every corner of the globe. As artificial intelligence systems detect unusual patterns in global data streams, all pointing toward Jerusalem. As communication networks experience unexplainable surges, precisely aligning with prayer times in the Holy City. It happens now, as archaeological discoveries confirm biblical accounts with unprecedented frequency. As ancient seals bearing names mentioned in Scripture emerge from the dust of centuries, as hidden scrolls reveal texts that parallel our present moment with uncanny accuracy. It happens now, as political alliances shift and realign in precisely the configurations described by prophets thousands of years ago. As nations position themselves exactly as ancient texts predicted they would in the last days. As economic systems undergo transformation that creates the very conditions described in apocalyptic literature. It happens now, as ordinary people experience dreams and visions directing them to Jerusalem at this specific time. As individuals with no religious background suddenly find themselves drawn to study ancient prophecies. As children speak with wisdom beyond their years about coming events, they could not possibly know through natural means. Listen to their prayers. Hear their voices rise in unified supplication from the Western Wall to the Mount of Olives, from synagogues to homes, from gathering places to solitary rooms. The voice of the people rises as one, pilgrims who have traveled impossible distances, locals whose families have lived here for generations, newcomers experiencing their first Yom Kippur in the holy city. Their diverse languages merge into a singular spiritual language. Their varied traditions unite in common purpose. "If I forget you, O Jerusalem," they recite, "may my right hand forget its skill." Their prayers intensify as the appointed hour approaches. Fasting bodies, focused minds, fervent hearts, the atmosphere thickens with expectation, with hope, with the weight of spiritual anticipation that has been building for millennia. The people have come to witness, to participate, to be counted among those present when the prophecies find their fulfillment. Listen closely, and you'll hear something extraordinary in their prayers, something unprecedented. Jews pray for their Messiah to come. Christians pray for their Messiah to return. Muslims pray for divine justice and mercy. And somehow, mysteriously, these prayers harmonize rather than conflict. They create a spiritual symphony that rises above theological differences, that transcends centuries of religious separation, that unifies hearts long divided by doctrinal distinctions. Listen to the elderly who remember Jerusalem divided, who lived through wars and intifadas, who saw the ancient city reunified. Their prayers carry the weight of lived history, of personal memory, of witnessing biblical prophecy fulfilled within their own lifetime. Listen to the young whose prayers reflect hope rather than memory, anticipation rather than reflection, future fulfillment rather than past vindication. Their voices bring fresh energy to ancient words, new passion to timeless promises, vibrant expectation to eternal covenants. Listen to the prayers of the secular who find themselves unexpectedly moved, who came as tourists but now participate as pilgrims, who arrived with cameras but now kneel with clasped hands. Something in Jerusalem awakens dormant spirituality, activates genetic memory, reconnects souls to their divine source. The prayers continue day and night. They never cease. They create a spiritual covering over the city, a canopy of faith, a shield of expectation that prepares the atmosphere for what heaven is about to release. The shofar sounds. The ancient ram's horn that has called God's people for thousands of years echoes across the sacred city. Its primal cry pierces the veil between worlds, between dimensions, between time itself. One long blast, three short calls, a final extended note that seems to reach into eternity. The sound reverberates from the Temple Mount. It bounces off ancient stones. It travels through valleys once walked by kings and prophets. Those who hear it feel something stir within. Something awakens, something responds to this most ancient of spiritual technologies. The sound of the shofar is unlike any musical instrument. It bypasses the mind and speaks directly to the soul. It carries memory, it carries promise, it carries covenant. As it has for thousands of years, the shofar announces, "Pay attention, be alert. The king is moving, heaven touches earth in this moment." The shofar blower stands atop the highest point. His prayer shawl billows in a wind that seems to come from nowhere. His face reflects concentration, dedication, sacred duty. He has prepared for this moment through fasting, through immersion in ritual baths, through meditation on ancient texts. He understands that he serves as a conduit, a human vessel through which divine sound will flow. His lungs fill completely, his cheeks expand, his entire body becomes an extension of the instrument he holds. And then it begins. The tekaya, a sustained blast that announces the presence of the king. The shevarim, three broken sounds that speak of repentance. of hearts shattered by recognition of their need for divine mercy. The teruah, 9 staccato blasts that call to battle stations, that announce the warrior aspect of divinity entering the human sphere. And finally, the tekaya gedola, the great blast, the extended note that stretches beyond human capacity, that continues long after natural breath should expire, that defies physical limitations and speaks of supernatural endurance. Those who have heard the shofar in previous years recognize something different in today's sound, something deeper, more resonant, more authoritative. The sound seems to carry harmonic overtones never before detected, frequencies that penetrate barriers both physical and spiritual. The shofar's call triggers spontaneous responses throughout Jerusalem. Tears flow without explanation. Knees buckle involuntarily. Ancient words spring unbidden to lips that have never studied sacred texts. Something primordial awakens in human consciousness. Something that recognizes this sound from before time began. From before physical creation existed, from the very foundations of cosmic reality. We stand where Abraham brought Isaac, where David established his throne, where Solomon built the first temple, where Jesus taught and healed, where countless generations have sought divine presence. This sacred geography has witnessed humanity's highest aspirations and lowest depravities. It has absorbed the prayers of millions, the blood of conflicts, the tears of mourning and rejoicing. Jerusalem remembers. The stones themselves seem to vibrate with accumulated history, with spiritual memory, with divine promise. Today connects to yesterday, to 2,000 yesterdays, to ancient covenants made under desert stars, to promises spoken by prophets who saw our day from afar, to hope that sustained a people through exile and return, through persecution and triumph, through dispersal and regathering. We are not merely creating new history today. We are fulfilling ancient history that was written before it happened. This geographical location serves as an intersection point, a nexus where physical and spiritual realities converge more intensely than anywhere else on earth. The rabbis taught that Jerusalem sits atop spiritual foundations that extend directly to the throne of God, that this city exists simultaneously in earthly and heavenly dimensions, that it functions as a portal between realms. Science cannot explain the unusual electromagnetic readings consistently detected here, the anomalous energy signatures that defy conventional measurement, the strange phenomena reported by visitors from every religious background and none at all. Memory concentrates in this place, from the bedrock of the Temple Mount to the ancient olive trees that still grow on surrounding hills, from the waters of Gihon Spring to the stones of Herodian streets. Every element of Jerusalem carries imprints of what has transpired here, and somehow, mysteriously, it also carries imprints of what is yet to come, as if the future has already cast its shadow backwards through time. As if prophecy isn't just prediction, but recognition of what already exists in divine reality. Those sensitive to such things report seeing layers of Jerusalem simultaneously, the present city superimposed over its past manifestations, and occasionally, fleetingly, catching glimpses of its future glory, the Jerusalem that is becoming, the Jerusalem that will emerge from current limitations into its ultimate destiny as the joy of the whole earth. The spiritual capital of a renewed creation. The weight of this moment cannot be measured by conventional means. Its significance transcends political analysis, economic implications, social media metrics. What transpires now affects the spiritual atmosphere of our entire planet. It shifts the unseen dynamics that influence the seen world. Those sensitive to spiritual realities feel it, an invisible burden, a holy heaviness, a weighty glory that descends as the shofar's final note fades into silence. Some fall to their knees spontaneously. Others weep without understanding why. Still others stand immobilized, caught between worlds, between realities. This is not mass hysteria, not religious fervor, not emotional manipulation. This is divine visitation, sacred encounter, holy manifestation. The spiritual impact spreads outward from Jerusalem like concentric ripples in a cosmic pond. It touches distant shores, reaches remote villages, penetrates closed nations. The impact cannot be contained by geographical boundaries or political restrictions. Reports begin to arrive from around the world of simultaneous phenomena occurring in synchronicity with events in Jerusalem, of unusual light patterns appearing over sacred sites globally, of electronic systems experiencing momentary disruption precisely as the shofar sounded, of children awakening from sleep, speaking of dreams filled with ancient symbols they could not possibly know, of hospital patients experiencing spontaneous healing at the exact moment the final shofar blast concluded. The weight carries revelation with it. Insights previously hidden suddenly become clear. Mysteries that confounded scholars for centuries unravel in moments of divine illumination. Ancient texts, previously obscured by translation difficulties, suddenly yield their meaning. The weight brings both clarity and mystery simultaneously. It answers long-held questions while raising new ones. It satisfies spiritual hunger while awakening deeper appetite. It fulfills ancient longing while creating fresh anticipation for what is still to come. Those who have carried prophetic burden for decades feel vindication. Their warnings no longer seem alarmist, but prescient. Their eccentric focus on Jerusalem no longer appears misguided, but divinely directed. The weight validates pathways that diverged from mainstream religion, that prioritized prophetic insight over institutional tradition, that valued spiritual authenticity above religious conformity. The weight now distributes across humanity. Responsibility transitions from the few to the many, from specialized prophetic voices to a global company of witnesses. Each person who experiences this moment carries obligation to testify, to translate, to interpret what has transpired here for those who will hear about it secondhand. What does it mean? Why now? Why here? The questions tumble forth as witnesses try to process what they're experiencing. Some point to astronomical alignments, others to mathematical patterns in biblical texts, others to geopolitical developments that mirror ancient predictions. All recognize that something unprecedented is unfolding, something that defies simple categorization. The signs have been increasing in frequency and intensity, like birth pangs, like storm clouds gathering, like puzzle pieces clicking into place after centuries of confusion. The convergence of sacred festivals, of global conflicts, of technological capabilities, of spiritual awakenings. None of these elements alone would signify prophetic fulfillment, but together they create a picture so clear that even skeptics pause to consider. We are witnessing not the end, but a new beginning. Not destruction, but transformation. Not divine abandonment, but divine engagement with human affairs at an unprecedented level. Scholars debate precise interpretations even as they witness events unfold. Some see literal fulfillment of ancient texts. Others perceive metaphorical alignment with prophetic patterns. All acknowledge that something significant is occurring, something that transcends coincidence, something that suggests intelligent design behind human history. The timing aligns with celestial markers described in ancient texts, with astronomical phenomena predicted millennia ago, with mathematical sequences embedded in sacred literature that pointed to this specific moment. The location fulfills geographical specificity required by prophecy. Jerusalem, Mount Zion, the Temple Mount, the Mount of Olives. Each place named explicitly in texts that anticipated this convergence of spiritual energies. The participants represent precisely the demographic mix described by prophets, from every tribe and tongue and people and nation. Global representation that would have been impossible in any previous generation. Only our age of international travel could fulfill such specific requirements. The technology enables worldwide witness just as predicted. All the ends of the earth shall see. Only our digital era could manifest such universal observation of events occurring in a single location. The spiritual condition of humanity matches prophetic description precisely. Knowledge shall increase, but few shall understand. Information abundance paired with wisdom scarcity. Data proliferation alongside spiritual malnourishment. The environmental signs align with prophetic texts. Unusual weather patterns. Seismic activity in predicted locations. Agricultural anomalies that mirror ancient warnings. The meaning crystallizes for those with eyes to see and ears to hear. We have crossed a threshold in divine timing. We have entered a new chapter in the relationship between heaven and earth. We have witnessed the beginning of fulfillment that will continue to unfold in coming days. This is not the conclusion, not the final page, not the end of the story. What we witness today is but one chapter in an ongoing narrative of redemption, of restoration, of reconciliation between heaven and earth. The prophets spoke not only of this day, but of days still to come, of greater manifestations, of deeper revelations, of more complete fulfillment. Today's events confirm the reliability of ancient words. They validate the faith of those who have waited patiently. They encourage perseverance for challenges still ahead. This Yom Kippur's Shofar blast reverberates through time itself. It connects past, present, and future in a single eternal moment. It assures us that what God has started, He will complete. What He has promised, He will fulfill. What He has spoken through the ages, He will bring to pass in His perfect timing. We stand not at an ending, but at a continuation, not at a destination, but at a milestone in an ongoing journey. The ancient texts describe a progressive unfolding, a sequential revelation, a stage-by-stage manifestation of divine purposes on earth. Today represents a critical juncture in that timeline, a pivotal moment when multiple prophetic streams converge into a single, powerful river of fulfillment. But the river continues to flow, to gather momentum, to carry all of creation toward its ultimate destination of complete restoration. Today's events establish pattern recognition for what is yet to come. They create a template that helps humanity interpret future developments. They establish spiritual literacy in a generation that will witness even greater fulfillment in coming days. The continuity extends backward and forward simultaneously. It honors the faithful who maintained these prophecies through centuries of waiting. It creates responsibility for those who will carry this witness to future generations. The shofar that sounded today will sound again. The presence that manifested today will manifest again with greater intensity. The revelation that began today will expand into fuller disclosure of divine reality. Today, we see partially. We understand incompletely. We perceive through filters of limited human comprehension. But each prophetic fulfillment increases capacity, enhances spiritual perception, expands consciousness of divine dimensions intersecting with physical reality. The journey continues tomorrow, next month, next year, next generation. What has been initiated cannot be stopped. What has been revealed cannot be hidden again. What has begun will continue until complete fulfillment transforms not just Jerusalem, but the entire created order. The world is watching. Live streams connect Jerusalem to living rooms across the planet. Social media carries images and testimonies to the furthest corners of the earth. The nations observe, some with hope, some with fear, some with skepticism, some with longing. Jerusalem has become the focus of global attention, just as ancient texts predicted. "I will make Jerusalem a cup that sends all the surrounding peoples reeling," wrote the prophet. "I will make Jerusalem an immovable rock for all the nations." These words find their fulfillment as we witness the international response to events unfolding in this sacred city. No other city generates such interest, such passion, such division and unity simultaneously. World leaders issue statements. Religious authorities offer interpretations. Ordinary people sense that what happens here affects them, though they may not understand how or why. The echo of the shofar reaches the nations, calling them to attention, summoning them to witness, inviting them to participate in this moment of prophetic significance. News anchors struggle to maintain journalistic objectivity as they report phenomena that defy conventional explanation. Scientific experts acknowledge anomalies in their data that correlate precisely with the timing of spiritual events in Jerusalem. Military satellites detect energy signatures emanating from the Temple Mount that register on no known spectrum. Global monitoring systems record unprecedented patterns of synchronicity linking Jerusalem with sacred sites worldwide. The nations respond according to ancient predictions. Some rush to align with what they recognize as divine movement. Others harden their opposition to what threatens established power structures. Some maintain cautious neutrality while attempting to interpret these events through secular frameworks. Political alliances shift in real time. Diplomatic positions adjust to accommodate new spiritual realities. Economic systems respond to the recognition that material values alone cannot explain what humanity now witnesses. The watching world divides along lines of spiritual receptivity rather than traditional ideological boundaries. Those who have cultivated spiritual sensitivity recognize divine patterns regardless of their religious background or geographical location. Those who have prioritized materialistic worldviews struggle to integrate these events into their understanding of reality. Yet even the most dedicated skeptics cannot completely dismiss what unfolds before global witnesses. The evidence transcends subjective interpretation. It manifests in measurable, documentable phenomena that correlate precisely with ancient predictions. The nations watch, they marvel, they debate, they divide and realign. All exactly as the prophets foretold they would when Jerusalem returned to its appointed place as the spiritual epicenter of human history. The story continues beyond what we can see today, beyond what we can comprehend in this moment. The ancient prophets spoke of a day when Jerusalem would be the praise of the earth, when nations would stream to it for wisdom and guidance, when peace would flow from these ancient hills to a world desperate for healing. Today's events are signposts pointing toward that future reality. They are not the destination, but directions along the way. The final shofar blast of this Yom Kippur will continue to resonate through days and years to come. Its spiritual frequencies will activate dormant promises, awaken sleeping potential, catalyze divine purposes that have waited for this precise moment in history. We who witness these events carry responsibility to remember, to testify, to align our lives with the unfolding purposes of heaven. Jerusalem has always been more than a city. It has been a promise, a prayer, a prophecy, waiting for fulfillment. Today we see another layer of that fulfillment before our eyes. Tomorrow will reveal yet more. The story continues, the journey advances, the ancient becomes present, the promised becomes reality. Future generations will mark this day. They will commemorate this moment when prophetic timepieces aligned with divine precision, when heaven's calendar synchronized with earth's history, when ancient words leaped from parchment into living fulfillment. Children not yet born will hear the stories. They will study the recordings. They will ask questions about what it was like to be present when the final shofar blast of this prophetic Yom Kippur pierced the veil between worlds, and those who witnessed will answer, it was both culmination and initiation, both fulfillment and beginning, both arrival and departure. For prophecy follows spiral patterns rather than linear progression. It revisits themes with deeper revelation. It circles back to ancient promises with fresh manifestation. It connects generations through common experience of timeless truth. The prophetic calendar continues to advance. The divine timetable unfolds with perfect precision. The cosmic story moves inexorably toward its appointed conclusion. Yet that conclusion itself becomes a new beginning, a fresh chapter, an unprecedented era in the relationship between Creator and creation. Jerusalem stands at the center of this unfolding narrative. It always has. It always will. From this sacred city, divine purpose radiates to the furthest reaches of human experience. From these ancient hills, spiritual reality expands to encompass all nations. From this appointed place, heaven's agenda for earth continues to manifest in ways that will transform not just individual lives, but entire civilizations. The shofar has sounded, the call has gone forth, the response has begun, and the story, the eternal, cosmic, divinely orchestrated story, continues beyond today, beyond our lifetime, beyond temporal limitations, into the unending fulfillment of promises spoken before time began.